Hey guys, JamieStarr here, New World News Network. And on this episode, I'm going to get into an older video that popped up on my autoplay yesterday, and I had seen it before, but I saw it again yesterday. It's a video with Stefan Molyneux, who I will say I enjoy a lot of his content. I consider him one of these high priests of scientism, basically. And scientism is basically a ideology or a faith-based belief system that people believe to be rooted in science or pseudoscience. It's these people who make terms like logic, reason, and evidence into punchlines, because when it comes to things where they already have a personal bias, they lower their standards of logic, reason, and evidence to bare minimums. And then, to top it off, you have a handful of these people that criticize social justice warriors, Marxists, and everything else like that. They criticize their tactics and what they do. But when they're pressed on their beliefs, they fall into these same tendencies. It almost makes you wonder if maybe these tendencies are human tendencies and they aren't just tendencies in the people we oppose. Maybe we should be more self-aware and try to see if we're doing a lot of the things we're claiming others to do. And I'll tell you what, in this video, Stefan Molyneux is like a fucking flaming train wreck. And I'm saying this about someone I admire. This is not me attacking him. If anything, this is a constructive criticism of an area that I think he was ignorant on, and I think the caller was not that well at debating. Although there's this one part where, it just gets Stefan thinks the guy's interrupting him, then he just goes on this tirade, then the guy shuts up and lets Stefan talk, and then Stefan goes back to the interrupting thing. It was like he had to establish dominance. Like, he was having such a hard time with the debate that he had to just switch the playing field real quick and establish dominance. That's how I saw it, because it was just unreasonable, and you would at least think the guy he has manning the calls would have been like, all right, guys, come on. And it could have just been done real quick, but it was like, hey, we'll see it. But one of the things that this guy just could have thrown out there and cleared a lot of things up real quickly is this thing right here. The 6 meanings of evolution. 6 meanings of evolution: cosmic evolution, the origin of time, space, matter from nothing, the Big Bang. Chemical evolution, all elements evolved from hydrogen. Stellar evolution, stars and planets formed from gas clouds. Organic evolution, life begins from inanimate matter. Macroevolution, animals and plants change from one type into another. Microevolution, variations form within the kind. Alright, so we've established that, right? The only one that is testable, provable, been observed by the scientific method to declare something a fact is microevolution. And when they're talking about this and the concept of evolution gets brought up, Stefan will go to microevolution, and this is what they all do. They go to the one they can prove and say, aha! This proves them all. It must, because what other explanation is there? And there's tons of other explanations, but there's a barrier to get past here. Now, one of the big things I say about these people in the atheist community that I will refer to as the high priests of scientism or atheism or whatever, logic, reason, evidence crew, is a large portion of this works on confirmation bias. People already have this feeling. I had this feeling, as a child. I was brought up in a church. I then, start listening to Marilyn Manson. You get rebellious and all of that nonsense. Listen, I don't care what you believe. I just want to point out that, a large portion of what's believed in evolution is faith-based as well. I don't care what your origin story is. I don't care what you think about the origins. But if what you believe is laughable and you're just taking it on faith or on someone else's word or because you've seen some cartoons, just admit it. That's all it is. But anyway, a large portion of this, these people already have the sentiment of like, fuck religion, fuck God, I'm free, let me do what I want, this, and that. And then they end up, finding someone like Sam Harris who can articulate this, so eloquently. And it always boils down to this idea that, like, well, bad things happen, so how could there be a God? And I mean, I guess I see what their point, the Bible kind of makes God seem very hands-on. I mean, now we can ask, what is the Bible? Well, it's a book written by a bunch of people. As this guy in the video says, it's mainly a historical document. It's not as much hocus pocus as people would like to think it is. And people really look like idiots when they do it. One of the things I thought was very interesting is when you join Freemasonry, you get one of these. Now, Freemasons are one of these secret societies that is all sort of, woven in. Are they part of the Illuminati? Are they, why have all the astronauts been Freemasons? I don't know the answers to that, but I got one of these. I got it was just at like some library book sale type thing. But I mean, I have friends that are Masons too, but the Holy Bible, the Great Light Masonry. And Masons can be of all religions. Why are they giving them the Bible? You should wonder about that. Also, people in the occult, in the elite and everything, they say, oh, the elite are Satanists. Oh, they're this, and that. What book is Satanism operating out of? Oh, the same book. I mean, it's like, they're not Satanists. They're Christians who are just going the opposite direction. Why are the elite obsessed with this? I mean, again, we know the elites have this sort of fetish for the occult and, all this sort of dark mysticism and everything. And yet, everyone else wants to stay stuck in the scientism, which is a world based strictly on materialism, strictly on science. And they avoid large parts of science that contradict the scientism worldview, like the double slit experiment, where they find that just observing things on a very small level can alter the outcomes. It's like the saying, if a tree falls in the woods, is there a sound if no one's there to hear it? That sort of gives some plausibility to that. So anyway, I want to get to this one little bit right here. I hope I can sort of just pop right up and cue right up to it, because Molyneux sort of gives his
I'm a Christian.
His feelings on religion.
I
was thinking, well, why mortal? I will is to me much more rational than claims. See. Wait, your name is because you
in your heart to the way I was before, as
unbelief, so to speak. Why did faithlessness? Why did it land on such fertile soil in me? I can say, well, I had this passionate belief, but I valued reason. Go of God before I had reason to. And I understand the God-shaped hole in your heart. I don't think why some of the things happened in my childhood.
Yeah, I think here we're about to.
It is very hard to go through a childhood like that and believe in a loving God.
Oh, yeah.
Can I have goodness without God? It's only one letter that looks like a zero, the difference between good and God, but it's a pretty damn important bagel. It's a pretty damn important goose egg to work with. Why? And I think the two answers for me were pain and loss. I will most likely go to my grave with the secrets of some of the things that happened in my childhood. It is very hard to go through a childhood like that and believe in a loving God that allows such things to occur. Now, you could say, yes, well, God gives us free will and so on, but he didn't give me free will to be born into that.
It's so funny. when he gets into his other video, he'll bring up the free will thing. And, you know, you'd expect with, like, a libertarian, free market, a non-aggression principle, free will, when it comes to his personal beliefs, free will just gets sort of brushed off real quick. Well, yeah, there's free will argument, but free will. Yeah, free will. I mean, it's... What I hear here is, why can't God be my daddy? Why isn't he personally watching over each and every one of us? Why isn't everything all... Why am I not... Why don't I have a safe space? Where's my safe space? It's a very social justice sort of view on religion and the world. You don't have a safe space, Stefan. I'm sorry. You seem to be doing quite well because of it, though. And that's, you know, one of the things, like, I could sit here, you know, and again, I was brought up, went to Catholic school, all that stuff, fell away from it. Again, not that my personal beliefs in this are even going to be relevant to what I make to the point. Now I see it has its place, much like Stefan. It's weird, Stefan thinks religion has its place in as far as the benefits it brings to a society, but I would much rather people have a personal relationship with the divine rather than, you know, a specific religion or anything like that. I think spirituality, although I'm speaking in those kind of terms, I think spirituality ends up leading people to sort of hedonistic tendencies because they're in the moment. But you know, I look at things like I spent tons of times just bedridden, sick with Lyme disease as a kid, pseudobenign brain tumors, all sorts of horrible stuff I would never want to wish anything on any child. But here's the thing. Nowadays, whereas I may, you know, stream some video games, but when I play, I stream so that I can upload to a blog. See, I'm doing it with business intentions. Or, like, I can't spend a day just laying around in bed all day, Netflixing and chilling. Because I equate that with being sick. Like, that's how I used to have to spend my days, laying around and doing nothing. So that's why I like to be up and active and doing things and creating stuff, because I know what it's like to want to do it and not physically be able to do it. I don't sit around and think, oh, well, there must not be a God because I had a fucking shitty childhood. Like, how ridiculous. I understand the idea, like, here's, you know, let's relate it to the music industry. The music industry, I think, is obnoxious and crazy because they want to sell you a product, they want to give you this product, and then they want to dictate where you can play it. If you can play for commercial use, if you can't play for commercial use, if you can put it on another CD and give it to a friend, is that illegal? Like, they want to control the product through copyrights after you buy it. Any other product, you know, if you buy a car, well, you can chop the top off, you can put on a new bumper, you can buy a body kit, you can add a wing on it, you can put a different engine in it, you can do whatever. It's yours, you own it, do what you want. I see this all as kind of like that. Like, God's taking a back seat. He put the fucking... It's like an AI. Simulation theory. Simulation theory makes a lot of sense to me. I look at certain things, you know, some things are easier to understand if you can relate it to something you already understand. Like, I understand computers, so it's very easy for me to think of the human mind and functionality in terms of computers. You know, you have your operating memory, the RAM, you have the long-term memory, the hard drive, and all of that. Anyway, I'm rambling, but just because some shit sucked, I mean, okay, reason, evidence, logic, no, that's your emotions.
And it is very hard to think of a God who knows all, who knew what my life was going to be like, yet still suffered me to be born into that environment.
Suffered him. It's you know, again, this, you know, you want to talk about craziness, like, do you understand genetics, right? In the context of the video I'm going to show you, it's really insane, because he's the one bringing up, well, you understand genetics, like, you understand mating, you understand basic reality, right, Stefan? No, you think God plucked you as an angel from heaven and deposited you into your mother's womb like a little spark of light, and that, I mean, it's this fantasy cartoon version of what our lives should have been like if there's a dreaming, like all I'm picturing is like white vignette with a harp just like, get the fuck out of here. You're so much better than this. Like, I don't know why when you talk about this point it goes to this insane level of your standard and your burden of proof. And in the video we're going to get into, you go on this guy where all he's asking for is your standard for everything else to just be applied to evolution. But because the evolution thing is tied into religion, it's ridiculous. Now, I'm just going to bring up this little quote real quick first. To suppose that the eye, with all its inimitable contrivances for adjusting the focus to different distances, for admitting different amounts of light, and for the correction of spherical and chromatic aberration, could have been formed by natural selection, seems, I confess, absurd in the highest degree. The difficulty of believing that a perfect and complex eye could be formed by natural selection, though inseparably by our imagination, should not be considered subversive to the theory. So, even Charles Darwin, who came up with this idea, admits that it's absurd if you really look at things like eyes and the design of everything. This idea that it's just happening and haphazard and no evidence, you have slight changes within the kind. So anyway, I just figured I'd bring that up. So even the people who come up with this shit don't even buy into it. So let's get into it.
As a creationist, I find the idea of evolution especially atheistic.
And this is the other thing. You don't even need to put in this as a creationist. Doesn't matter. You can tear apart evolution very easily. I mean, do I still have them open? Yeah, look at all this stuff. February 2007. No missing link. Evolutionary changes occur suddenly, professor says. Whole theory on that. Why was a baboon bone found in Lucy's skeleton? Scientists make bizarre discovery in the 3.2 million year old fossil of early human. Yeah, we just randomly mixed in some baboon bone and someone at a museum pointed it out. Icon of evolution, Lucy bites the dust. Tel Aviv anthropologists have disproved the theory that Lucy was the closest known, ape. It's actually Rank and his colleagues also wrote the structure of Lucy's mandibular ramus closely matches that of gorillas, which was unexpected because chimpanzees are the closest living relative of humans, not gorillas. Brings to mind recent fail of this. Another one's been debunked. They've all been debunked. All of them. It comes out. Here's another one. If pressed about man's ancestry, I would have to unequivocally say that all we have is a huge question mark. To date, there's been nothing found to truthfully purport as a transitional species to man, including Lucy's, since 1470 was as old and probably older. If further pressed, I would have to state that there is more evidence to suggest an abrupt arrival of man rather than gradual process of evolving. Richard Leakey, world's most foremost paleoanthropologist, in a PBS documentary, 1990. Let's see. So, I mean, if you peruse these sites, you find all sorts of stuff, but the problem is none of it gets talked about. I mean, you even had, what was it? Yeah, this was the one where they're reconstructing the face things now. It's all in constant fucking getting tossed around. So the fact that you will have people try to defend like the atheist creationist worldview and continually go to but evolution's out the fucking window. Like, I'll just bring this up now while we're into it. Stefan will mention this recapitulation theory of recapitulation, also known as biogenetic law or embryology. Parallelism is often expressed with Ernest Haeckel's phrase ontogeny recapitulates, whatever that is discredited. So, that was all nonsense, bunch of fucking fraudulent pictures. It's been based on that, and they keep fucking putting it forth. Humans don't have gills. The drawings were fucked up. Produced several embryo drawings that overemphasize similarities between embryos of related species. See, they wanted this theory out there. Darwin, all of them. The thing people don't realize is evolution was the climate change of its time. It was politically backed. There were political reasons to back it. This was not just pure-hearted scientists coming out. And so, I mean, some of the main people are quoted saying that what they wanted to destroy religion. That was their purpose. So they just came up with a bunch of pseudoscience that people who spout, you know, the virtues of logic and reason all day don't give a shit because they've just been drilled with this enough times that they will cling to it. I'm pretty... we'll have to watch, but I think there's even a part where...
As a creationist,
where after this guy debunks one of Stefan's points, he keeps trying to go back to it.
I find the idea of evolution, especially atheistic evolution, unconvincing. Why should I believe that life can arise from non-living matter, atheistic evolution, or that one living organism can reproduce another organism of another kind, i.e. a bacteria producing a non-bacteria, even though neither have ever been demonstrated in a lab? That's from Curtis.
Hello, Curtis. How you doing?
Hello, Stefan. How's it going?
It's going well. How are you?
I am fantastic. Been looking forward to this conversation for a while.
Excellent. I'll try not to screw it up then. Let's cross our fingers, shall we?
Well, I mean, the question's pretty much exactly what I'm trying to say. There's nothing really complicated about it. I always hear from atheists and people from that side that one of the main reasons you go to atheism is because you like to follow things that only have evidence. And I have never seen any sort of evidence that life can arise from non-living matter, and I've never seen any actual evidence of the claims in evolution. They'll give evidence of, say, evolution can turn a single-cellular organism into a multicellular organism, and they say the evidence of that is that moths change from black to white, depending on whether it's pollution or not. Which is a fraud.
No, that one is a lie.
Right. Which I know it's a fraud. But that's what I mean. Like, there's never really any kind of actual evidence of the
Are you white?
Yes, I am.
Why are you white?
I was born that way.
I know, but why is your skin white?
Now, I had an article up. I don't feel like sorting through it because this is a 40-minute video as is, so I'm hoping we can kind of get through it fast. But even one of the common sense things, actually, you know, I will bring it up. I think I remember which one it is. 9 scientific facts. Here's the Darwin quote again. Let's see, are they numbered here? That's all about Lucy. That's about the fish. Single cell complexity. Egg and sperm. Well, anyway, while I look for it, there's a part about how this idea that because so, you know, like a black person born in Africa, the color of your skin being a idea of evolution, why on earth would people who live in the hottest area possible have the darkest colored skin? That's just going to absorb the heat. why wouldn't it be more of a color that would say reflect it? If we have the genetic chromosomes, of everything else in us and everything like that, why wouldn't we be like silverish or something, like a reflective color that could, why are people black? They're absorbing all the light, so that, that's I'm fucking doing a horrible job at this, but there's one article though that went on about that, about how the idea of species without a link. Yeah, anyway, sorry I even added that point in there. Oh, yeah, maybe here we go. Many evolutionists argue that melanin is a natural sunscreen that evolved in a greater amount to protect dark-skinned people who live near the equator. They simply ignore the fact that dark-skinned Eskimos live in the north of the Arctic Circle. Melanin in the skin is not a sound argument in favor of evolution. Dark-skinned people have always lived near the equator, not white-skinned people, even though the dark skin is more uncomfortable in the hot, sunny climate. Black skin absorbs the heat from the sun rays more than white skin. Humans show no sign of natural selection based on the environment. The theory of natural selection is wrong because it cannot create something in the DNA that wasn't there in the beginning. Animals like bears, tigers, lions, and zebras live near the equator, have heavy fur, while humans living in the north of the Arctic Circle have bare skin. A leopard from the jungle near the equator has fur like a snow leopard of the Himalayas. The snow leopard grows thicker hair, but the jungle leopard would also have moved to a cold climate. Horses and dogs grow a heavier winter coat in colder climates. Natural selection isn't working as falsely claimed by Charles Darwin. So yeah, that's the whole bit about skin color. So out the window with that one.
Less melanin in my skin than, I guess, people of African descent.
Why?
Why? Because
Why would you have less of this melanin?
So we can go past that.
Is there more or less sunlight, less skin pigmentation, right? From the scant sunlight strong. Does that make sense?
I'm following.
Okay.
Perfect example of what I'm talking about.
And here he even says, all you're talking about is variations within a kind. That would be microevolution anyway, which no one argues with.
Especially atheistic evolution. Within evolution, or especially atheistic evolution, the requirement is that eventually a single cellular organism can become a multicellular organism. Saying that...
No, hang on.
Okay.
Listen, dude. Are we just jumping from you? You said give me an example of evolution. And you just immediately changed the subject.
Well, no,
now you see that? That's him getting defensive, because what Stefan just tried to do, it was a sleight of hand. This guy calls up with two very specific questions. He says, I've never seen anything produce anything outside of its kind, macroevolution. I've never seen I don't remember if it's the cosmic or whatever, but he says, or organic evolution. I've never seen life begin from inanimate matter. So he says, I've never seen these two kinds of evolution. That was the original question. Molyneux goes, what race are you? What skin color are you? A question about microevolution, and then when the guy says, yeah, no one argues with that, changes within the species, changes within the kind, yeah, that's fine, but then he goes, oh no, I just proved evolution. I just proved that fucking the whole world came from gas and all this other shit because black people live near the equator. Okay, I don't know where your logic sense is at right there. I mean, that's fucking wild. The fact that you think you can point to that one, that you can be asked two specific questions about evolution, talk about some whole other shit, and then think that just sums up the whole shebang as go-to. This is what I'm talking about. The standard for reason, logic, and evidence, nowhere to be found.
I'm trying to address what you're talking about.
And then every time this guy tries to do it, you see how he gets. This is the social justice warrior. You're tearing down my belief in the white supremacy. Lash back.
Saying that.
No, hang on.
Okay.
Listen, dude. Are we just jumping from you said give me an example of evolution, and you just immediately changed the subject.
Well, no, I'm trying to address what you're talking about.
Well, no, you're going off on another topic. Let's talk about the skin for a second here. Do you accept that your lighter skin is the result of evolutionary pressures on your ancestors in a less vitamin D enriched environment?
No.
No. Okay, what's the other explanation then?
Well, it wasn't evolution. Well, this is the point I was trying to make. What you're talking about is adaptation. A species staying a species, a human staying a human and just changing its skin color is not evidence
but
that a
you
human being
understand
can eventually reproduce a non-human.
You understand that this occurs at the realm of genetics, right?
Yeah.
And even at that, Eskimos. So all of this is out the window. All out the window. Why are Eskimos brown? That's not a vitamin D rich environment. Out the window with all of this.
Okay, so here we have genetic changes. Reality, of course, is that all species are transitional species because all species are constantly subject to evolutionary forces.
And we just,
there are dozens and dozens.
Coincidentally, it's all this. And the guy will make the point. Yeah, every other day is 4 million or 4 billion days from whenever ago, but you don't have halfway monkey men popping out of monkeys ever documented, ever. You don't have a fucking fish one day that just decides to waddle up on land and can start breathing air. Ever. So why are we at a pause? Why is evolution paused for all of human existence and documented history? Why? I'm just asking a question.
Dozens and dozens here of transitional species between particular other species and so on. And, there's lots of evidence of this kind of stuff as well. So, for instance, whales and hippos are two different species, right? But whales, in their flanks, have leftover bones from their legs, right?
Wrong.
From their hind legs.
I've actually heard this before.
I've actually heard
this before, and those bones are actually used for mating. It's used for mounting the females when they have sex. It's not a leftover leg bone.
Is that right?
Yes.
My apologies. I'm sure you're right. This is what I've heard, and I'm certainly happy to be corrected. Leg bone. I thought they were pretty deep in the skin, and I can't imagine how they would be.
Well, I've heard these type of examples before, and this is what I was talking about. What I was trying to say earlier is that
you got a lot of fairy tales. That's what you got. You've seen a lot of cartoons and a lot of fairy tales, and you take these fairy tales and cartoons as reason, logic, and evidence. Again, Stefan, I like you. I admire you. I think you do great work in other areas. So I'm sorry, I have to be myself and entertain my viewers, so I'm sorry if this comes across harsh at all. But that's really, at the end of the day, that's what it is. And believe me, it wasn't very long ago, I got into, screaming matches with friends debating this, because we're both very passionate people, and he's looking me in the face telling me, you can't believe with all you can do that you're just some smart monkey. And you're just some smart monkey. You're a couple steps away from fucking jumping in trees and throwing your shit at things. I mean, really, it's such a sad worldview.
Even fossils are a completely different story, because the only thing a fossil proves that there was once an animal that was alive and is now dead.
Bam! Bam! Mic drop. Bam! Fossils now out the window, because that's reality. That's reality. There goes that point. And so every little fairy tale told about a fossil, oh, we got these bones, and in a far fairy tale land 1 billion years ago, well, this monkey humped another monkey, and then they popped out a monkey that walked on its 2 feet, and we know all of this. just from this pile of bones. I mean, it's insane. It'd be like if you walked into a fucking aisle at your local hardware store, took all the planks of wood and just dumped them into the center of the aisle, and it brought someone over and said, there was a house built here. There was a house and a family of 3 lived in it, and they lived there for a long, long time, and then they all died of tuberculosis, and a hurricane came by and destroyed the house, and that's why this pile of wood is here. And you'd go, wow, you got all that from a pile of wood? But these guys get all of this from a pile of bones. I mean, they see a pile of bones. They know that that thing was fucking. They know that that thing was making babies. They know. I mean, the amount of fairy tale nonsense that they just sort of extract from this, their piles of bones, to fit them into their theories is ridiculous. And it's the same way you see these people today. There's a hurricane. Well, it must be the global warming. It's got to be the climate change. It's got to fit in the model. It's got to fit in the model. I mean, you just look at the amounts of science that evolution has brushed aside. Every missing link they've ever come out with, oh, this is it, debunked, 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 scrapped, debunked. That's why they're still looking. They've thought they've found it 10 times over. That right there should just be a red flag. And maybe what you're looking for isn't even there.
It doesn't prove that it ever reproduced, and it certainly doesn't prove that it was related to anything else in any sort of evolutionary sense. It just shows there was once a living animal that is now dead.
Boom. Boom.
But I'm talking about if evolution, if life-changing...
He sort of looks like he's stewing right there.
From one form to another, one species to another, is a natural, observable, testifiable, verifiable process. It should be something that you can recreate in a lab. I mean, you can say that it takes millions of years...
No, hang on. Okay, first of all, I'm just looking at this... Hang on a sec. That's a big leap to say if something is true, we have to be able to recreate it in a lab, right? I mean,
reproducibility.
Now, here he's about to get into, again, the science, logic, evidence mindset of things, and that's all this is this is one of these areas where you have people who, again, all day champion reason, evidence, logic, scientific method, whole bit, and they are going strictly on faith, and lack the self-awareness to at least realize they're doing it. Now, here's the crazy part. In the clip I started this with, Stefan's views on religion, you can go back to and check it. Again, I'm trying to speed this up, so I'm not going to go into it. He talks to the guy and he says, I have a lot of respect for people who have irrational views or views on the supernatural or mystic stuff or everything like that, who at least know that that's what they are and will still say, but it brings a great good into my life or something like that. And it's just funny because Stefan doesn't have the awareness to realize that that's how he's operating right now. Except he's holding on to an irrational view. And when this guy says to him, hey man, the standard you claim you have for everything, let's apply it. Let's apply it to this. And he goes, but in a faraway land of a million billion years ago, in a far away, like... Come on. What is that? The time of is there a fallacy related to time? Like if we just say it happened so in a time frame that is outside the realm of standard human lifespan and comprehension, that the impossible must suddenly be possible. That the laws of physics no longer apply, because a lot of the laws of physics actually disprove evolution. Law of entropy. Things only decay. They don't grow and gain magical powers. Fuck, how come I haven't grown wings now? I bet it'd be helpful. There's the DNA in there for it. I share chromosomes or whatever with a banana and a bird and a bumblebee. Why don't I have wings? And here's the other thing. Why are we... when someone says, how come we can't recreate this in a lab? How come Stefan wants to start acting like this is the fucking 1970s or something? Have you seen what they're doing in labs? They got fucking human chimeras growing in pig bellies. Everyone mocks Alex Jones for talking about it, but it's only in National Review, MIT, Daily Mail. It's in all the mainstream sources. Everyone likes to scoff at him over it, but fuck, they should be able to with the other shit they're doing. They can make you a glow-in-the-dark cat. How come they can't make a fucking monkey pop out a humanoid? Why not? Why isn't there millions and billions of dollars being poured into this research? I mean, the government's already tried to see if they can make super soldiers. Why does context of everything else going on in the world as far as genetics, DNA advancements, and everything like that, when it comes to talking... And this is the real problem. And this is the other thing, where Stefan's title of this video, A Dishonest Conversation. The only person here being dishonest is Stefan. Again, I'm sorry, that's the reality. But dishonest in terms of when we start talking about evolution and all this other stuff, they go on to this philosophical nonsense, and the reality of the modern day and age gets suspended, where you just see outdated science continually referenced and everything like that. And it really, it shows you why evolution being taught in schools was so controversial. Because you're teaching something that you don't have anything to back, and now everyone's believing shit that's been debunked a million times over. They're still out on it, basically. Like I just showed you, you have scientists researching the idea that it comes in quick successions rather than in long jumps. Even Darwin said his idea was ridiculous. If the guy who made one of the founding people of this even admits it's fucking absurd, then maybe we should all be taking a second look at it instead of getting so defensive. But we're defensive because of what it confirms. I mean, I have other friends who, and again, I don't care your position on Flat Earth, but within the Flat Earth conspiracies, there are other conspiracies in there. There's layers. There's stuff about shadiness at NASA. There's problems with the education system. There's the, all the different maps everyone has. There's math stuff to look at. And you have mathematicians and chemists and all different people doing research in this area now. It's all very interesting. But I have friends that won't go near it with a 10-foot pole, even though they'll tell you NASA is corrupt. In a compartmentalized sense, they will agree with all of it, but they won't go anywhere near it under the guise of flat Earth, because the answer on the other end of flat Earth is, well, there's probably a creator. And that's what they just... If it even opens a narrow path towards that end point, that maybe there is more than just the meat suits, they start just going nuts.
Probably okay, dude. Are you going to let me finish a sentence? If not, I'm going to move on to the next caller. You keep interrupting me just to say start a sentence.
See? What is he talking about? Let's go back and listen to this. You keep interrupting me just when I...
Evolutionary sense. It just shows there was once a living animal that is now dead. But I'm talking about if evolution, if life changing from one form to another, one species to another, is a natural, observable, testifiable, verifiable process, it should be something that you can recreate in a lab. I mean, you can say that it takes millions of years.
No. Hang on. Okay, first of all, I'm just looking at this. Hang on a sec. That's a big leap to say if something is true, we have to be able to recreate it in a lab, right?
So, first off, Stefan cut him off. He said, hey, hold on, because he already just had one. He just had his fossils. Right now, he's down on the whale fucking bone or whatever. Your fossils got thrown out the window. Your melanin was out the window. I mean, he's just going through them, and then he's trying to make this bigger point where he's basically saying, yeah, you can't even apply the scientific method to this. And as he's, that's when Stefan's like, whoa, hold on. And then when the guy tries saying, no, listen to what I'm... Why?
Reproducibility is a fundamental
okay, dude.
What is now dead. But I'm talking about if...
Big leap to say if something is true, we have to be able to recreate it in a lab, right? I mean,
reproducibility is a fundamental
okay, dude.
that's a big leap to try to make science fucking stand up to scientific standards and the scientific method. I mean, right, yeah. Fucking reason, logic, and evidence. That's a big leap, right, Stefan? Really? What was up? What was going on in your personal life this day? I wonder. Because I feel like and, you know, maybe this is me doing what I accuse other people doing of Sam Harris, where they start giving them excuses. It's like they're saying, oh, well, here's this person I admire being really stupid. But maybe they had a reason that they were really stupid on this day. No, I think it's probably all just what the reasons I was giving off prior.
Are you going to let me finish a sentence? If not, I'm going to move on to the next caller. You keep interrupting me just to say start a sentence. If there's a lot you want to say, have your piece, and then I'll have my piece. But I'm not doing this cutting me off thing.
Continue.
All right. Well, maybe we lost him. Okay. So I'm going to read this thing about the hind legs of whales.
And notice how once he started going nuts, the guy just was like, I mean, because Stefan said, hey, don't stop cutting me off. And then he went even more into it, and then was like, "Oh, are we there? Continue." Like now he's just being a dick because he can't get a point in. So now he's going to try to go with the whale thing.
It says here, although whales lack external hind legs, they do have internal rudiments of the hind limbs and pelvic girdle. This is from whyevolutionisttrue.wordpress.com. And let's see here. And it does look like there is, any particular. These are tiny, tiny little bones deep inside the skin, and it does look like they're leftovers from the hind legs. I can't conceivably see how they could be used for mating. Let me just have.
Well, can I read you something from DiscoveryNews.com? It's Discovery.
Wait, I didn't.
Now, all right. Now, first off. Watch what he's about to do now. This is, again, the thing I was talking about, where he's like, a dog trying to establish himself as the alpha. You better heel to me. You better. I didn't hear you apologize earlier. You better admit your white privilege. It's him being a social justice warrior. All those usual tactics.
Hear your response to my earlier thing about whether I could finish my sentence or not.
Oh, you fucking finished your sentence, you dick. Did you not? Oh, I didn't hear your thing about could I finish. You cut him off in the first place. Then when he tried to finish what he was saying, you got your panties in a bunch. Now because he's about to throw your point out the window because you went to whyevolutioniswhatever.wordpress and he's actually got something from the Discovery Channel. I mean... So now it's, you better heed to me.
Okay, well...
And then you just interrupted me again, so I'm pretty sure that...
You're just being a dick. I'm pretty sure that you're just being a dick.
That you didn't hear it.
Oh, they didn't hear your tirade or your point? Which? Because he went completely silent, and now you assume he didn't hear it because... This is, again, SJWs. You're not listening. You need to be educated. You're not hearing me. You can't have the...
I was just trying to reply to what you were saying.
Well, no, but do we have an agreement that you're going to let me finish my thoughts before interrupting?
Okay, I thought you were done. I'm sorry.
No, because I asked you if we could do that. That was sort of a condition of continuing the conversation from my standpoint. If we have that agreement, that's fine, but you didn't actually respond to what I said.
Okay, I didn't think I was interrupting you last time. I thought you were done. I apologize.
Okay, when you listen to this again, you'll see that I had about 4 sentences out of my mouth and you interrupted me, so please don't tell me...
After you going, hey, ho. Yeah, after you interrupted him, I mean, really, that was an invite you shouldn't have gone for, because if you check back the tape, you cut him off. to make another point that's going to get thrown out the window.
You thought I was done, because that means you simply don't have any idea how to converse to human beings, and that's not where you want to go. That doesn't save you.
See, now here's him just trying to belittle him. I don't know why. He said you were cutting him off, then you made your point. He's trying to reply to that point. The conversation is trying to just move forward. Why are we harping on this? Why? Why is this still... He didn't interrupt you, you interrupted him, and now you are dragging this on into a personal thing, making it personal. Oh, well, you must not know how to talk to human beings. Where is your goddamn self-awareness? Where?
From a little bit of rudeness, which I do sometimes too, so it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, like right now, obviously.
Okay.
All right, so go ahead and read me something.
Okay, this is from discoverynews.com. So Discovery Channel. Conventional thinking has long held that pelvic bones in whales and dolphins are evolutionary throwbacks to ancestors that once walked on land, are vestigial, and will disappear in millions of years from now. But researchers from the University of Southern California and the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles have upended that assumption. Scientists argue in a paper that just published in the Journal of Evolution that cetacean, whale, and dolphin pelvic bones certainly do have a purpose in that they're specifically targeted by selection for mating. I can send you the link to that if you want.
That's perfectly fine. I appreciate that correction. Thank you. I will certainly. I don't think I've used that in an example before, and it was certainly around when I was a kid studying biology. But I appreciate the correction, and let's move on.
And see, here's the big problem. All you're going to is stuff you were told when you were a kid, and it's all been debunked, but most of it's still in the textbooks. And they won't fight to get it out because it backs up evolution.
Yeah. Well,
now, let's try to get back to the original.
Point is that there is no actual example of this process happening. You yourself, I've got you on quote saying that reproducibility is a fundamental to science. Like, if it's not reproducible, then you can't really make any decisions or draw any conclusions about it.
Well, hang on a sec. Can human beings create suns? Like S-U-N-S? Can we create a sun?
Well, we can observe the sun. We can't observe evolution.
Okay, so observation is key, and you can observe the evolution
point.
without necessarily being able to have to create it in a lab.
Okay, well, can you observe evolution anywhere?
No, of course not. I don't believe there's much evolution occurring on the dark side of the moon or on Mars or
say
anything
everywhere.
like inside volcanoes.
Does it happen anywhere? I mean, my point is, if you can't see it, if you can't reproduce it, how is it scientific?
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
If you can't observe what you're talking...
He is saying that in terms of these 5 right here, cosmic, chemical, stellar, organic, and macro, that you can't prove them. The scientific method does not apply to all of these, and they're all just theories taken as faith with fairy tales. They're religious. That's the religion of scientism.
Talking about, and you can't even test it. You can't reproduce it. How is it science?
Are you saying that because are you saying that there's no fossil or genetic examples of evolutionary adaptation?
Well, evolution is the claim that life changes from one species to another, even though the word species has no definition. But so
wait,
it should be a process.
Sorry, hang on.
Now here's them going to take some time to make a non-point and read off a definition about species that has the word species in it, which I thought was odd. No one else seems to think it's odd to define a word with a word. But
so, are you saying the word species has no definition whatsoever?
There is no definition for the species.
Really?
Really. It doesn't mean anything.
It means nothing at all.
Try to find out what distinguishes one species from another. Why is a dog...
Well, no. Hang on. No, they're two very different things.
Species, a class of individuals having some... Species, 1, a class of individuals having some common characteristics or qualities, distinct, sort, or kind. 2, biology. A major subdivision of genus or subgenus regarded as the basic category of biological classification composed of related individuals that resemble one another are able to breed amongst themselves but not able to breed with members of another species. 3, logic. One of the classes of things, well, we got the biological one, but there are several.
Well, even in that definition, you said species are animals that can't breed with each other, but dogs and wolves breed with each other. And that's why
Boom! Boom! There goes the definition of species out the window. It's so easy for this guy. You know, when I was watching it yesterday, I thought he was kind of lackluster, but he really just real quick is like, well, you defined a word with a word, and you're saying that a species can't mate with another species, but dogs and wolves do. So, bam, out the window. And he brought up fossils again. Fossils were out the window at the very start of this.
So but hang on. But Curtis, the fact that there are fuzzy edges to biological definitions doesn't mean that the definitions are completely worthless. That's a fallacy, right?
No, it's not. It's not a fuzzy definition. It's a definition with a definition in it that is disprovable easily. So it doesn't mean anything. It's just a word they're using to lump things together, and then they're trying to make up rules that don't actually apply.
Because there are some questions.
Again, this is him being like, the fuzzy edges is him saying, again, I'm suspending my standards for everything else for this because it gives me a worldview I am comfortable with.
Answer, and nature presents near infinite complexity, which doesn't always fit perfectly into the conceptual formulations of human beings, doesn't mean that therefore those characteristics are completely meaningless. So, for example, the fact that there's, if I give you pure black and I say, what color is that? You say, oh, that's black, right? And if I give you pure white, say, what color is that? Oh, that's white, right? And then at some point it'll be, well, that black is kind of light black, or maybe it's a little gray. Like at some point, somewhere in the middle, you won't know what color that is, but that doesn't mean that there's no meaning to the words black and white. So the fact that there are fuzzy boundaries to stuff, particularly in biology, which is a human imposition upon the near infinite complexity of the natural world, the fact that there are inconsistencies, fuzzy boundaries that occur among a small number of species doesn't mean that the term has no meaning. That's why.
Didn't he accuse him earlier of trying to go off topic onto tangents? Because it seems to be a lot of what he's doing here. Why did we spend so long talking about you being interrupted? Why have we spent so long about this whole, the term species isn't even very well defined. Okay, he said it has no meaning. Okay, you think there's a vague, fuzzy meaning. Even you are admitting you're conceding it's a shitty definition, though, and you're just still trying to defend it. Why? This drags on.
I asked you 3 times, it has no meaning? And he's like, no, it's just that it's not always possible to apply it perfectly, which is, I think, natural.
Well, that's really, whether or not you agree with me on the species is really no point to the actual, what I'm trying to say. The simple fact is, again, that the claim that a single cellular organism can become multicellular, or that eventually a dog will reproduce a non-dog, has never been demonstrated. I mean, I feel like we're just going back and forth on this. I don't want to waste all the time on it.
Again, I'll go back to transitionalfossils.com.
Your fucking fairy tale fossils are out the window. I'll go back to this. Okay.
Tons of fossil evidence of species in between other species, of transitional species, of evidence that species go from one kind to another.
I've got tons of fairy tales. Fairy tales about a far, far fairy tale land where fucking birds turn to horses and cows turn to carrots. And I mean, wow. What do you have to back these claims up? Bones. Of course a fucking cat can shapeshift into a giraffe over 1 million billion years. Look, here's fossils of a giraffe. Doesn't this toe look like a cat toe? I mean, what the fuck? This fairy tale nonsense. I've got bones. All right.
There is tons of proof of this.
Well, no. Fossils can't prove that one species changed into another. The only thing a fossil is a rock in the shape of a dead organism. And it doesn't contain any DNA. It doesn't contain anything other than just what it looks like. You can't say that you found a dead animal in the ground, so that proves it evolved into something else. That's a non sequitur.
I'm sorry, saying that something is non sequitur, I don't quite understand. The fact that you have animals that are in between other kinds of animals and that also fit in the evolutionary time frame is certainly evidence for it, right?
Well,
They drew a cartoon? Is that what they did? The evolutionary timeline, they drew a cartoon, and you found a skeleton, and you said, this is where it fits in the timeline, and a little teacher went by and said, you get a gold star, and now reason and logic and evidence gets thrown by the wayside. And this guy is just making very common sense points that are not over anyone's heads, but it's you have to be holding on to that education, holding on to that indoctrination, and holding on to it for personal reasons, personal defensive reasons, because if this goes away, like I said, then there's a shimmer of plausibility that, well, if we've been wrong about all this and we've been holding on to it so tightly, maybe there's something else out there.
There's no thing to say that they are evolutionarily related. For example, if dogs died off today and researchers are trying to research them 100 years from now, they could take the bones of a Chihuahua, the bones of a Terrier, the bones of a Shepherd, and the bones of a Great Dane and say, hey, look at how a Chihuahua evolved into a Great Dane. Except Chihuahuas and Great Danes are species that live at the exact same time and are completely compatible with each other. Finding an animal in the...
Yup. He just said, all that's going on is you have a bunch of piles of bones, you're looking at one next to the other, and you're making a fairy tale. That's all it is, that it shape-shifted from one into the... When you really look at it, I mean, it's fucking funny, and that's why people have such a hard time letting go of it, because it's such a fantastical idea. It's so outlandish, and it's like the Nazi thing. The bigger the lie, the better. And this has just been layered on. Oh, little babies have fish gills. Like, come on. No, let's talk about modern science and stop with the cartoons.
The ground that kind of looks like another one and saying that it's smaller doesn't prove that one evolved into another. It's not true at all. And what you're saying about the fossil record, the geologic column that Charles Lyell came up with back in the 1800s has never been found. You can't find a place in the world where you can go straight from the top to the bottom and all the layers are the way that's supposed to.
And here's the other thing about it. If you check the textbooks, and you guys can do this, you'll find it. In the geologic column, I'm probably going to get this wrong, but the fossils are decided by the years, and the years are decided by where the fossils are found. Like, there's like a circular logic thing going on there where they just find one and they go, oh, well, because I found a trilobite, it must be this many years old. Like, there's something, I forget exactly what it was. I know Kent Hovind has talked about it, because, I mean, he was a scientist, and or a science teacher, and he's really gone through all this. Again, I don't necessarily back his worldview, but as far as deconstructing the nonsense within evolution, he's got it down to an art.
Supposedly laid out according to the geologic column. It doesn't happen. And, for example, well, again, you brought up your transitional fossil site. Isn't that where you read to me about the whales from? I mean...
No, that's the whales thing. I just picked it out of my memory from when I was a kid where it was something that was talked about. But no, it's different.
Well, that's a perfect example, right? It's a fraud. It's a fraud among many. How many other...
Wait. Hang on. How is it a fraud? Isn't that what they thought, and then other people found better information? Isn't that kind of how science works? I don't think.
No, there's plenty of frauds, like I already showed you with the one guy with the fish gill images. That's a fraud. The fraud among many. This guy is completely right, and Stefan's just unaware of it, because he's going to bring up the frog gill fucking baby embryo shit later on.
It was an error before, not something that was lied about.
No, well, lots of this is lied about.
You know that the evolutionary field is littered with the corpses of hoaxes and frauds. So I can't assume that this isn't necessarily an intentional fraud, because there's tons of intentional frauds throughout the evolutionary landscape. And I can't think of another scientific theory that's true that has so many hoaxes and frauds associated with it.
I don't know. I mean, but still, compared to religion, I would say it's got nothing but shiny beacons of integrity and honesty. But anyway.
Nope.
Let me move on for a point here. I've read both your books, UPB and Against the Gods, in preparation for this conversation, as well as reading and watching a whole bunch of your videos. And I want to try to move the conversation on to the more specific topic of life from non-life.
Well, but hang on, I don't. I mean, that's fine. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm trying to figure out, because I'm like, what standards of proof you would accept for interspecies evolution, right? Which would occur over, I don't know, hundreds of thousands or millions of years or whatever, right? I mean, human beings have been in wildly different environments for 70.
Let me just say right here what I would accept. I expect scientific claims to live up to the burden of proof of the scientific method. It seems like a far-fetched idea for scientific claims to have to, meet the specifications of the scientific method, like this guy said, but that's just what it is. And what we're saying here is, let your theory be a theory. And it'll just be a stupid theory at the end of the day. But let the theory be a theory. Stop having it be your religion. Stop. Or, like you said, because you have a lot more respect for people who take things as faith and know that it's an irrational belief, just admit it's an irrational belief, but it's a worldview you're comfortable with. And that you have faith that someday it will be proved to be right. It just doesn't look like it has good odds right now.
5,000 or 100,000 years and can still interbreed and have most of the same characteristics and so on. So I'm trying to figure out, we can't put the lab. The lab is an impossible standard, right? That's you can't have that as a standard for being able to prove something that takes huge amounts of time. So what standard would you accept that is reasonable?
Well,
right?
how
I mean,
is
if
that...
it's an impossible standard, then you've just set up something where you're never going to be convinced. And I want to know that, because if the standard you have for proof is impossible, then there's no chance of having a reasonable conversation. So given the paucity of the fossil record as a whole, and they're hard to find and they're scattered all...
I like how that's framed, reasonable conversation. Again, the only one being unreasonable here is Stefan, because he's being asked to apply his, methods across the board.
All over the place. As I said before, if all of the human beings in North America died and then 100 million years from now they found the fossil record, we'd find one shin bone out of hundreds of millions of people. So it's very scarce and very scattered and very hard to find. Given all of that, what would you accept as a reasonable evidence for...
So even there, he's trying to say, well, we're, mix matching pieces and, everything like I watched a paleontologist. I might do a video on this, on Joe Rogan's show, try to debunk Eric Dubé's Why Dinosaurs Didn't Exist video or something like that. And the paleontologist, tries to debunk certain claims, but really just change the topic, move the goalposts, mock, ridicule, scoff. There's very little just direct response, and you can't have a reasonable conversation with these people when you're questioning the fundamentals of their worldview, the fundamentals of their reality, really.
Or transitional species. If what I've provided to you is not sufficient, what would you accept that is sufficient?
Well, I've already said, I think demonstrating what you claim to be a natural process occurring in a lab would be a really good way of doing it. People always make the claim that it takes millions of years or whatever for evolution to happen, but of course it depends entirely how quickly an animal reproduces. Bacteria reproduce much faster than human beings, so there's no reason to think bacteria should take nearly as long as a human being to evolve. And yet we've never seen any change within even what we would consider simple life from one form of life to another. And the idea that it takes millions of years, if the world's 4 billion years old, every single day is 4 billion years from someday in the past. So even if it takes 100 million years for life to evolve, every day it happens, there should be something changing.
Bam. Yeah. Or at least during, the span of documented human history, we should have had a monkey man or a fucking fish grow wings or something, unexplainable like that. And they've even had it where, I'm not going to get into it all because this is already going on longer, but I'd say check this out. 9 scientific facts that prove theory of evolution is false. It goes through the thing about the skin. Birds prove natural selection is naturally wrong. Species without a link prove evolution theory is wrong. And then it just goes through a bunch of the hoaxes and all that. Let's see. Michael Denton said, despite the tremendous increase in geological activity in every corner of the globe, and despite the discovery of many strange and hitherto unknown forms, the infinitude of connecting links has still not been discovered, and the fossil record is about as discontinuous as it was when Darwin was writing The Origin. Denton, a molecular biologist, removes all of the supports, if there ever were any, from Darwin's theory of macroevolution, continuity of life. Denton blasts all of the previous arguments made by the pro-evolutionists, showing that there's essentially no support of macroevolution in the fossil record. He also clearly demonstrates that there's no support coming from his specialty molecular biology. In the end, the only sound explanation he can make is that life is profoundly discontinuous. And then there is the fisherman catches living fossil, and that disproves it, because here's a fish they thought, died out millions of years ago and everything like that it should have had different body parts and everything, and it's completely fine. What's this? Tiktaalik is the latest fossil gap evolutionary fraud. Let's see. Number 5. Human egg and sperm egg prove evolution is wrong. Chaos from organization proves evolution is wrong. So yeah, you guys can check all that out.
And the fact that this is a theory that's been around for 150 years, that nobody has ever even attempted to demonstrate actually occurring, the best you can come up with is
fairy tales
moths
about
that are
bones.
different colors, or birds with slightly different finches with slightly different beaks. I mean, they're still finches. The beaks are a little bit differently, but that's saying that because a beak's different, that means that a bird will eventually turn into something else is a completely different stretch. There's no evidence of it. So I would say that if
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble understanding. If you're saying...
Oh, man, how do you have trouble understanding that? Yeah. This theory has been around for 150 years. You only have changes within a species to show, and yet you're still making insane claims that no one can prove that someday a bird is going to turn into a dog. Yeah, you got a bunch of fairy tales. And how come no one has an issue?
Saying, is there evidence of natural selection in the here and now? Well, there certainly is. I mean, bacterial resistance to antibiotics is a pretty clear one, right?
Well, bacteria, that's still bacteria. The thing is, evolution.
No, I understand
says that.
but
yeah, you're trying to change the topic, trying to bring it in a different direction, trying to debunk a point no one is taking issue with.
Bacteria will eventually be a non-bacteria. Saying that bacteria becomes a different kind of bacteria.
No, hang on.
It's not the same thing.
No, okay, because you're talking about two different things. Number one, you're saying provide...
Yeah, because you're trying to change the topic. That's why two different things are being talked about.
Evidence of evolution, and there's evidence of evolution in bacterial resistance to antibiotics. And then you're saying provide evidence of interspecies evolution, right? And we talk about transitional fossils, and you reject that. And then we talk about your skin.
Oh, he rejects that. It's not that he rejects Stefan's fairy tales about bones. He rejects it.
And you reject that.
Well, explain.
And so I'm curious what you would accept, given that it's going to take tens or hundreds of millions of years and cannot be reproduced in a lab, what evidence would you accept? And if there's no evidence that you'd accept, that's fine. I mean, I can accept that. I just need to know that. So,
well, I've told you I would
giving
accept
you evidence when
evidence.
it's impossible to satisfy your standards.
I told you the evidence I would accept, but you're just saying that because of the way the theory of evolution works, it's impossible to test and prove, which sounds exactly like a bullshit theory. If I say that leprechauns, to use an example that you love so much, if I said that gravity wasn't real, but instead invisible leprechauns that can't be seen, tested, measured, or observed are really what's holding everything down, even if it's accurate, it's a completely useless theory because it can't be tested, observed, or verified. And so how is saying that, oh, evolution, yeah, obviously you can't test or observe it, but what evidence would you accept? I mean, I don't understand. If you're admitting that it can't be tested or observed, how can you then therefore say it's of science?
No, but what you're conflating the two things, and I'm sort of beginning to suspect that there's sophistry involved here.
Oh, man. Oh, wow.
You're conflating the two things. So, if you want to know some things which support the theory of evolution, number one, I guess, would be the universal genetic code, right? So every single cell on Earth, bacteria, white blood cells, cells in the leaves of trees and on the tongue of the chameleon can read any piece of DNA from any other life form on Earth. So there's some evidence there that since it's all the same building blocks, that there's a common ancestor.
Well, that's again a theory and an assumption. That's like me going and walking down the road, right, and saying, look, here's a house built by wood. Here's another house next to it built by wood. Here's oh my God, another house on the road built out of wood. And this one too. All these houses on this block are built out of wood. They must have all been built by the same person. I mean, and it's like, realistically, that's actually the creationist view on that point. But it's still kind of what they're saying, except they're saying common ancestor. Like somehow, because these things are all alike, they must have came from the same place. Or here's, like it's just because, a car and another car are similar, they must have came from the same place when they actually came from two different factories. Or because an airplane and a car is alike, they must have... If this is ridiculous, there's no logic or reason to support that just because two things are alike, one must have came from the other. That's, again, a stretch. You're taking that on faith.
From which all life has descended.
Well, let me ask you about
Number
that.
two... I'm sorry?
Well, let me ask you about that. Actually, never mind. Sorry, move on.
Yeah, because he was just going to say, why does it have to be common ancestor instead of common creator, common coder, basically? If you wanted to go with the simulation theory idea, it could have just been the same person who wrote the code for all of it.
Okay, so number two, the fossil record, the simplest fossils are found in the oldest rocks. Because it's a tenet of evolution that...
No, and this is what I was talking about. The simplest fossils are found in the oldest rocks. But that's because, according to the geological column, when they find a simple fossil, they go to the column and they say, oh, because we found this fossil, it must be this old. They're not really checking the dates. The one defines the other and the other defines that. So again, that's at that point just gets you wrapped in circular logic. You can't do that. You can't say, oh, because we found this fossil, it must be this old, therefore it is this. Like, that's how it works. Look into it. I'm not doing it justice, I'll admit that, but look into it.
Less complex things evolve into more complex things, right? You don't start with the human brain and end up with single-celled organisms. It kind of goes the other way around.
Yeah, except, like, healthy parents can have children with disabilities and deformities and retardation and handicaps and stuff. Right? So that's a little backwards. How come, like, two sick people who are very ill and everything like that, how come you have illnesses passed on instead of having a offspring that is all of a sudden now immune to a genetic disorder? How come we don't evolve, to be healthier, basically? Everything goes backwards. All of these ideas suspend every other part of reality in order to be defended.
And so the way that you would test that, the theory of evolution, is to say, can we find significantly more complex species earlier in the fossil record that don't show up later and have no antecedents? So,
But if where your fossils are placed in the record is defined by the type of fossil it is, you're not going to, because they're not checking the fossils and trying to figure out the actual dates. And what would they use? Carbon dating or radiation date? That's faulty as shit anyway. So you can't just go and say, oh, we found this fossil, it falls in the column, later on because it's more complex, therefore it... Again, look into the problems with the fossil column.
Oh, the fossil record's pretty consistent, and this is...
Yeah, of course it's consistent because the one is defined by the other, and they define each other. There's no research going on into it. It's the definitions are set. So it won't ever switch up or change, because once they find a fossil, the column tells it, well, these types of fossil fall between this time period. If you found this, it must have been during that time. It's already set. So again, look into it. That point is out the window. Stefan hasn't made a point. Was not an argument? He has not made a valid argument. And he's the one calling this the dishonest conversation.
Dawkins thing where he says if you can find one fossil significantly out of sync, you will have taken a big hammer blow to evolution, and I don't really think that's happened. Now, the other one, you could say...
No, in fact, we've found that there's circular logic in the entire fossil column, and the whole thing should be blown up. It didn't even need to take a fossil being found for that to happen. It just there's circular logic in all of this. A species is defined by the species that it can mate with. Oh, but dogs and wolves, fuzzy edges. I mean, you really mean to tell me that if you found a fucking fossil and it was out of the order, you wouldn't just go, oh, well, that's a fuzzy edge? Come on.
Commonalities. I mean, all of this stuff, right? I mean, that human beings, it always blows my mind, have 75% of the genes in common with mice and 80% with cows.
So why aren't women fucking popping out mice? Or why aren't mice popping out people? Or why, again, commonality, yeah, what about it? What about it? Because this exists, you are then taking a jump. No logic, no reason, no evidence, just saying, oh, well, these things must be in common, therefore this fairy tale must be correct.
They're bigger. 90% with cats and 96% of our genes we have in common with chimpanzees. And again, that doesn't mean, of course, that we evolved from mice, except
it does. It does. That's part of your theory. That's part of the theory. So yeah, it does. That's kind of what it all implies. I mean, the mice probably turned to a cat, which turned to a monkey, we've all seen the cartoons.
Guess some of the Europeans, but it does mean that that way back there must have been some kind of common building block. And there is, the last thing I'll say, there is a fairly...
I mean, when they just go, well, because of these commonalities, way back there must have been a something or other. Even just in talking in those terms, I find it hard to believe someone this smart isn't aware that they're talking in terms of faith. Because, these things are like, we have a feeling that it must have been like this way back in the day. Oh, it must have? Are you sure? Are you sure?
Good branch that works insofar as the further along ago the genetics diverged, the greater the difference, right? And so there is that as well. In embryos, all life forms, you've probably seen those things. I know when my daughter was in utero, like, embryos have gill slits, tails,
If your daughter had gill slits and a tail, you should have her checked out, because again, that's debunked. That's called recapitulation theory. It's based off a cartoon. It's a cartoon. discredited. So, if that's your proof, you are discredited. And you're the dishonest one.
Weird anatomical structures involving the spine, and all of the embryos initially kind of resemble each other for mammals and so on. Pig embryos are used in classes because they look so much like human embryos and so on. And so again, there does seem to be some commonality as far as that goes. And again, bacterial resistance to antibiotics. So there are some ways in which there is things that support the theory.
See what he just did? That's conflation. Where he just went and he was like, oh, well, there's recapitulation theory and then antibiotic-resistant bacteria. Like, he's conflating all these different areas of evolution and that's all the evolution is. If you believe in evolution, it's all a game of conflation. It's all tying together these loose knots based off cartoons and disproven, unscientific, faithful leaps. Whatever. I'm going to end this here. The rest of this, they get into this part about Stefan in a book, his view on religion and how he obviously doesn't even know what's being talked about because God said, why have you forsaken me or whatever, and he was actually quoting earlier. You can check the rest of the video out on your own. I really needed to add in my 2 cents because a lot of this could have even been even more laid on, that in terms of this area, Stefan didn't know what the hell he was talking about. He went on a completely irrational personal tirade when he was the one interrupting people. It really seems like he's just defensive of this because his own personal biases, personal worldview, everything like that. And to top it all off, him uploading it with the whole dishonest conversation with the creationist, when he's the only person who was dishonest in the entire thing. This guy came with 2 simple questions, and they were danced around, and everything else but those 2 questions were talked about. Life from non-living matter. How does that happen? And the idea that one thing can just pop out another, and when he says it's unscientific, all hell breaks loose. So anyway, follow me on Twitter, subscribe to the channel, check the thing you gotta do for updates. That's gonna be on BitChute now. We're operating over there. New World Network, NewWorldNewsNetwork.com, JamieStarr.net. Have a good one, everyone.